Solar, Berkshire Engineering, this must be the peer review, additional work, solar review, planning board.
That must be the one we asked them to clarify what the gap was.
For a signature, under Sunday, the amounts for $1,490. Scope of services, site visit, community review. Construction phase, scheduled services. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve
Berkshire Engineering.
Berkshire Engineering invoice.
$1,490. We have a motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Ayes have it. Glenn already signed it. Let's see. Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, invoice number 4, $2,925. Direct labor. Work includes attendance at the planning board meetings, general administration, and coordination of the board, and incorporating zoning bylaw changes into the permanent document. So this is back on Bill Scanlon's here.
Right. Do you want to look at that? Yeah, by project.
Uh, 6119.
No, that was already on one page. Okay, how many pages do you have?
3.
Yeah, because that's through June, so that would be just.
The end of the fiscal year. I make a motion to approve the PVPC. I think you said 2695.
2925.
2925.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor? Ayes have it.
Did you want to sign that bill for the first one? Okay.
Approved minutes.
You have, your first paperclip stack is 4 sets of minutes that we need to. Those are all yours.
July 8th.
And Rob, you're going to abstain from this one.
Yep.
Make a motion to approve the July 8th, 2019 minutes.
Do we have a se-
One second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Okay, we have before us Tuesday, July 16th minutes. Most of that is in regard to the new solar bylaws.
Make a motion to approve the July 16th, 2019 minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. And we have now the Monday, July 22nd meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve July 22nd, 2019 minutes.
Do we have a second?
I'm abstaining, so.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Did I hear anything? Said all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, didn't hear you. And last but not least, July 29th.
Yeah, the only thing on this one, page 3, is we didn't end up having a meeting on the 12th, but it was said during the July 29th meeting, so I guess that's all right.
Yep. What happened at that meeting?
Make a motion to approve the July 29th, 2019 minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Rob abstain.
Copy that.
Moving along. Correspondence. There's a memo from DEP for McDuffie School in regards to some work that's being done at their well. It's an FYI. We have another correspondence here. No appeal for the Granby DG Series LLC. And another one from Kathy Kelly Regan. No appeal for the 185 Kendall Street. Approval for the building that was 3,100 square feet.
That's the one that they sent to us.
Yeah, that one with this. Okay,
And the 535 is supposed to be the first day of
535 Ann Arbor Bachelor Street. Mr. Chapdelaine.
Good evening, my name's Edward Chapdelaine, 356 Front Street, Chicken, Mass, surveyor for the project.
You want to stand up there a little?
I sent Kat an electronic version of this morning, along with the signed Form A application. Basically, what we're creating is an existing lot, 232 Bachelor Street, with residential and a garage located on it. What's left over is approximately a 57-acre parcel that goes back into the gravel pit that Greg Orland has been using or borrowing for his operations over in the back with the Bachelor Street.
Before you go any further, I'm going to abstain from this.
Okay.
I'm in a butter.
Okay.
So what we have left is basically a 57-acre lot. Mr. Orland is still continuing his business activities. The current owner of the property is Charlotte Cody, which she lives here. And what we are planning on doing is this remainder is not a building lot at this time. Even though it does meet the frontage area requirements, this plan is concerning 232 with the garages and separating that from the bigger piece,
So in other words, you're just carving this piece,
out of the bigger piece,
you've created this,
new property.
that property line
Correct.
Out of,
This,
everything.
it goes way back.
yep, okay.
Almost to maximum, but not quite. Goes back pretty far.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
I don't see any issues. We got more than enough frontage to meet the bylaws, more than enough square footage.
56.
I don't see any problems. We'll have to wait for Will to come back
Yep.
to approve this. But
And I do have the application here,
okay.
2 of them signed by Mrs. Cody.
So what are the plans here to do?
Well, we're creating basically a separate parcel here. The existing residential
Yeah.
house with the garages will be on one parcel.
Mm-hmm.
The remainder will stay as is, rather than slash. They're farming that actually right now.
Okay.
They have cattle back there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do that.
And Mr. Cody's here, he's the husband of Charlotte.
Will, do you want to look at this?
Sure.
Jimmy's abstaining or recusing
Recusing.
because he is in a butter to this property.
Okay.
Where's Jim's land? Or where's
He's-
Jim's?
Here's, he's way over here. But
Yeah.
It does come
Yeah.
back and,
Yeah.
Chonky's do a butt.
Okay.
Part of that.
this is Leon Chardier's, Leon's garage
Okay.
on Bachelor Street.
Okay.
That's the garage.
Yeah.
They're busting, this was all one giant piece. Charlotte Chartier Cody, along with her husband Guy and Ed, have taken and created this new property line to just have this separated from everything
It
else.
stands, this will stand on its own.
Okay, so instead of one big lot, it's 2 now.
Well, it's one lot with a big remainder.
Mhm.
It's quite a big piece, about 57 acres more or less.
Oh. Okay. That application needs to be dated.
I put those over there in front of you.
Oh, this one? Okay.
There's 2.
These 2 need to be dated. There's no date on here. Can you just scribble in the date?
Need a pen then? No,
And that's 250, right?
correct. Hear a motion?
Motion to accept? Motion to
Yep.
Motion to approve the A&R.
approve? A&R?
Okay. I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Filing
Aye.
fee,
250?
Filing fee $250, Town of Granby. Okay. You dated them both, Ed? Okay. So now,
It's coming on, yeah. Should be, having a groundbreaking ceremony with veterans.
I probably should have said with one recusal
Yeah.
regarding Jim.
Staying, but that other, before that I had to recuse.
Okay. How many paper copies are we supposed to have? There is, oh, okay. Yeah,
I don't know.
it is.
The pen may be running out.
Jim?
Switch pens.
Yep.
How's the family?
Want the back one?
What's that? Just got back and was down there for 3 weeks.
Just as down there, they came on the beach.
All right.
Embryville. Flat school.
Really? Good for him. Oh, nice. What is it?
Eddie, do you have a spare rubber band by any chance? No.
I think there
It
was
wasn't in
some,
my budget, sorry.
Oh.
I was gonna take this,
did you look at the big cabinet
No,
there?
I didn't.
look in the conservation box, might be something there.
Yeah,
If you weren't here, I probably would have.
I might have, one in my backpack. That one?
That's the line item budget for that.
Yes.
Okay.
So what do we keep?
So I get one, at least one mile for registration.
It's one Mylar and one regular, right?
We
No, just one Mylar.
keep 4 and 1 miler.
Registry, look for that.
How you doing?
They just finished it. A&R. Interested in signing it. What is it for? I recuse myself.
Okay. Do you want to take one Mylar?
One, I guess, that's mine, that's what the registry.
Right. We keep one Mylar and 4 papers. We keep
Keep
it.
4 and 1. No, that's okay.
So that could be really happy.
Yep.
just a big batch of the street. That's a roll off A&R for
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, Guy.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
Is that when I do it?
What's that? Oh, yeah. Hello, Tom.
Hello, Bob. How are you?
Good.
Organize this here.
This one's dated.
Yeah, I figured it.
Okay.
Granby DG series.
Yep.
Hello.
Just to kind of clarify why we're here is, the plan itself has no changes to it. We run title up front in our process, and then we run it again at the end. 99% of the time, there's no changes. When we reran our title prior to closing, we found out that our seller, current owner of the property, Mr. Ningras, actually sold the property while we were going through our approval process. He transferred it to his son, who had power of attorney anyway. So it didn't really change anything on our end. It just, the deed references on the plan for the remainder property and the seller's property changed. So our attorneys wanted us to update the plan just to reflect the new deed reference and the new owner. So nothing changed in terms of the lot size of the commencing operation reference, just the deed reference to the remainder property.
So it's Omar H, Omar M.
Omar, yes, or vice
Something like
versa,
that,
yeah.
yeah.
Omar,
Because Omar M is the owner that's here.
The owner of record.
Now, I have a question. Do we need to rescind the other one that we did? The approval of the other one, or?
Oh, no, because at that time that was approved,
Right.
right? So it's just a new one, really.
This one just supersede that one, right?
Right.
Just by date.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what did you miss? Since the last time they've done this, it's changed ownership, but from father to son. But the son had a power of attorney anyways prior to this, so.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
Yeah.
So nothing's really changed physically, it's just basically a,
The name
Just
change.
our attorneys wanted us to update the plan with the proper deed references because,
so it gets recorded once correctly.
right.
Yeah.
Right, and I was just questioning if we should rescind our other approval of the other one, but seeing as it was correct at that time.
Yeah.
The reason I transferred the father was not good down that they were concerned that something happened prior to closing that, created some noise.
No, I don't have any issues with it.
No,
Does anybody
that's
else?
Make a motion to approve the new A&R for Granby DG Series LLC, with a note that only the owner of record has changed from father to son.
For a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? No? All right.
Whoops, I'm sorry? I wouldn't think so.
What's that? I didn't hear
No
that.
charge, obviously.
What's that?
No charge on this one, or to pay the other A&R.
The other one was never recorded, right?
It's not recorded, no.
So,
I think it's
it's 26, right?
Yes.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Snuck in here.
Well,
My Mondays
I
are
was
tight
writing chair,
because
I figured Jim would be next. I
have to
would go
prepare.
next
I'm
to you, and then
doing
I'll-
some work with the Conservation Commission in East Hampton. I used to be a conservation agent and they needed in there at an interim basis. And they had a meeting tonight. I was preparing everything for the meeting before anything up here.
musical chairs.
Thank you.
That's it. The name is too.
Jamaican, yeah.
Yeah.
Left you a space above my name. Doesn't matter.
Rob, you want to sign these?
I do.
And I'll sign over there already else.
Sometimes it's hard. I'm like, wait, which project was that? What town is that?
Yes,
Can imagine it's a little
Especially if you're like doing similar things, like the solar bylaw. I'm working with one other town that's doing that. So,
it's all signed.
but it's fun.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
I'll keep this throughout that one. I don't have to keep this. I think they just put this. Send it to myself. The one roll up this one, is it?
Yep.
Yeah, I put, let's see, is this the one you did?
Hmm?
Is that the one you did? Is there another?
This is, oh no, this is not the copy that I made, that's in my
There
briefcase.
should be another, yeah, there's another sheet at the end, the second sheet. This is what Kelly already has posted online. It's a result of that. This is just so you can see a little more clarification about the signature. I don't know what we're talking about right now.
I don't know, I tried to read this and I didn't, in all honesty, understand the background.
So, what are we on to next? Are we doing the Kendall Street decision or are we into the agenda?
We can review the Attorney General's response.
We can do that. Ken would have the 2 copies of the decision to sign.
Oh, we can do that first. I mean, that's fine too.
Okay.
Why don't we do that? Because to look over that will take a little additional time.
Okay. With the changes from the last time we added tomorrow's date for when the town clerk gets it, because Kathy hasn't seen anything from us yet on this, even the original paperwork. She has seen the ZBAs,
Mm-hmm.
but we can't use that date. We have to use tomorrow's date, and she'll get it.
This is for the Attorney General's?
No,
No.
this is the oversized barn.
Oh,
Sorry, we're jumping around. And you had suggested a couple of changes from last time, or just, no, just, okay.
No. Yeah, the only question was about the date
Yeah.
to file with
Okay.
town court.
So then his appeal period will start from tomorrow.
As far as we're concerned.
Mm-hmm.
It's already
Done with the
done with the
ZBA.
ZBA one.
Somebody want to see this?
He sent it along earlier,
Yeah, no,
email.
I just don't want to see it.
Am I reading this wrong? Does that make sense?
Number 4? No. As it is, they're missing is.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Can we just, or leave it?
On page 3?
Yeah, number 4 on page 3, the garage will not have any water or waste disposal system as it needs the word is, or will be, an accessory structure to be used for personal storage and no other use. It's just missing a clarification word. We still have time to sign this, if you want to wait till the next one.
We can't just simply insert is
I don't,
handwritten.
don't.
You could just cross off, put it, or, any minor typo changes. If it's signed, that would be the version that is recorded.
Water or waste disposal as, we can add the word is,
As it
add it as it is,
is. Yeah, as it is.
or will be. What are we saying? Will be, probably, because it's not built yet when we're writing this, right?
I don't think it matters one way or another, really. I mean, it states what what it will be.
Is compatible, is. Yeah, I'll just say is. I'm adding the word is.
I'm gonna let you do it here too, so it's in the same type of print. So don't change the print.
Okay. Then we're signing? I might as well sign while I got it here.
We need
But
the
we need a motion.
motion.
Do you want me to go ahead and do it, or? I'll make a motion to approve the final version of the site plan approval for Raymond Beaujolais, 185 Kendall Street.
As, we changed it here, so.
With the change of adding the word is on item number 4 on page 3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed?
Actually,
Yes?
does, Rob, were you here for this?
No, he was not.
No, okay, that's right, I see it absent, okay.
So I'll go ahead and sign this. And then send it back here so I can get it to Kathy. You're frowning, Glenn. That causes wrinkles.
Huh?
You're frowning, that causes wrinkles.
Yeah, well, explains all my wrinkles.
Thank you, sir. Moving right along.
We're gonna move on to the Attorney General's response to the proposed bylaw changes.
You have it in your package, sir? You have it with your stuff on. Okay. That I put by everybody. What I included the Attorney General's letter and then what Kathy Kelly Reagan has posted online, and then a copy of what we submitted to the town, just in case you want to look at special wording in both, and any of them.
I saw somewhere here that this was forwarded to town council. Okay, from the Attorney General's office.
Yes. Yes, because there's a lot of in there. You should consult with town council before making a decision.
Approve section 1, 2 of Article 2, however, approve Article 2.
If you look at Kathy Kelly Reagan's piece, it says what the Attorney General did not approve. And I believe that's word for word.
You know, as I read this a while ago, the thing from the Attorney General, that had to be in there to begin with in the I-2.
It was. We didn't
And
change
the
it.
Attorney General approved it originally, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It was it wasn't really a change we made this time.
It was somebody just dug a little bit deeper and paid attention to what they were reading at the Attorney General's office.
That is correct. So if somebody wants to put a church on the dump property, then
Well, they're closer to heaven there. So, does this have to go back to town meeting?
I don't know.
So basically, the change that you proposed will not take effect in regards to that specific item. Everything else,
And do we even care?
So we can just change the no to yes on the chart and we'll be fine, correct?
yes, because my assumption is that you had a yes there before, and you would have required site plan approval. Or-
Okay, so it simply is like checking a box. Is this something, well, how, procedurally, how do we do this? Is this something that we will vote on as a board this evening and then send it off to Brian O'Toole, town council? Or is there any need to even get him involved?
I don't think there's any need in regards to this specific clause, which is the non-educational institutions, churches, parish houses, or other places of worship. I'm reading this to be that the AG's office is disapproving that altogether, so that basically whatever your bylaw said before should be what it says now.
It should be what?
What it says now. So it's like this never went before, this never went to the AG's office to be reviewed.
Well, we didn't change that. That was approved back in 2014.
So when I read this when it first came back, I was a little confused why that was even picked out, because that wasn't part of any of the articles that were.
No, but we replaced that whole section. So the whole section is fair game for them to look at.
I was more than a little confused when I read this, when it came back. But going back to my original question regarding the town council, because town council was CC'd by the Attorney General, should we as well follow suit?
Well,
You can probably you can consult the town council to see what, if anything, needs to be done in regards to that specific clause.
well, the town council saw it before it went to the AG's office. So this basically the AG's office's response saying, we approve it with certain sections being removed. So unless we don't agree with that and we want to question the AG's office on it.
I have no intention on questioning the AG's office.
Right, so I think that's the only thing our town council will look at. It's already been vetted through the AG's office and they're
I'm
saying,
looking at this
this is
and not seeing
approved, but this section is not.
Right.
Site plan approval for the whole thing in what we have here. You don't happen to have a copy with you of what we sent.
But the only thing I'm saying is as far as what we could, if we went to the town council with it saying that, gee, that was approved from our original bylaw, and that was nothing new that we changed, so we can ask why is it being considered to be changed
But-
now?
But why even get into that?
Right, well, that's what I'm asking.
Well, because
Is there an area we're concerned with?
we're gonna get a letter back from town council that dances all around everything, doesn't answer a question.
But I'm saying, are we concerned with what the Attorney General has put here, seeing it's different from what our bylaw actually states right now?
I'm not concerned.
Well, I'm looking at our bylaw here in the book here, and it says site plan approval. I don't know where they're getting the no, that's why I want to see what the,
Well, I thought by reading this that the AG's office is disapproving this because we didn't include educational institutions, churches, parish houses, and other places of worship in the I 2 district. See, and then it goes on to say, is this inconsistent with the protections given to such uses under general law, which I would have to imagine they're basically getting into, and I can't tell you what amendment it is, the freedom of religion in the Constitution. Is that basically what this is
I think
boiling down to?
This is specific to the Dover Amendment, where I think towns sometimes, in their interpretation of what types of processes they can put nonprofit, faith-based, whatever falls within, this category of types of uses. You can't place special permits on those types of uses. You can regulate through the site plan approval process. And the Attorney General's office states here that you may impose reasonable regulations in 8 areas: the bulk and height of structures, yard sizes, lot area, setbacks, open space, parking, and building coverage requirements. So usually that's handled within your dimensional requirements.
Okay, so in the 2014 version, it had said site plan approval. When we sent in our version, we had said no for industrial 2, which is what they're saying we can't say. So it's
then
going to
it should-
revert back to
to
site plan approval.
And we said we were gonna eliminate site plan approval?
We were saying, no, it's not allowed.
Site plan approval is allowed. Site plan approval is allowed on everything.
Well,
If we deem to do it. The Attorney General can't stop you from doing site plan approval.
No, because it's an as-of-right use.
But we said, no, it's not allowed, period, full stop, in the chart that we sent,
That's,
for industrial 2.
Okay, so we resend that as a board, can we resend that as a board and everything will be fine?
I don't know if that has to come before the town again, or because it's a change from what they last heard.
That you are indeed correct.
So the 2014 plan had site plan approval. Okay. When we changed it, all under industrial 2, we put no's, which is what they're talking about, the Attorney General. So then Bob's question is, can we just change it in here and call it a day, or does it have to go before the town again?
Well, I think that would be the question for town council.
well, that would be, but it's not a legitimate article to bring up for the town to supersede what the Attorney General is telling us. They're telling us we can't prohibit or place special permits on these institutions in these zones. So it doesn't matter. You can't ask the town to supersede.
No, we're not. We're just saying, oh, by the way, this is.
Well, I think when it's
Yeah, but
posted,
we don't need a 2/3 vote for that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
town council, just to confirm it, the town council, then we just change it.
And that's posted on the town's website.
right, that's notifications, no different than if you had a town meeting, we was notified at a town meeting. As Jim just said, we can't change it.
So we just need to change it on our chart,
Right,
which
I
will
think that
flow
would-
back to the permitting
Okay.
guide there.
That's the only, unless we want to, I kind of spoke about it earlier, prevent or provide evidence where we believe this should be stated a certain way, but
We need to
They said no
we need to
already.
reference this, and town council should give us the,
which he was CC'd on it, so he probably already has looked at it.
yeah, I'm sure it is. So just to make sure that we're interpreting
So what
this
are we doing?
correctly. We should reach out to town council to make sure that we're interpreting this correctly.
So shall we do a motion? Just to make it official?
Are we making a motion to reach out to town council?
Yes.
Is that the motion you're looking for?
Yep.
I'll
Well,
make, go
What's the
ahead.
question? If we're gonna make a motion, what is the question for town council?
To confirm our process and just.
And what
change it.
steps are needed to correct
Okay.
the situation. I'll make a motion that, Glenn speak with town council regarding this matter. Number one, to see what we have to do to correct this situation. Number two would be, what would we say?
Probably have to post it, so that there's gonna.
Yeah, what is the correct way to, what is the correct way
to proceed.
to remedy this situation, to proceed with this situation?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed?
Oh, wait a minute, hold the phone. I want to make sure I have this right. I think you're
Okay.
saying the same thing twice here.
I think you're correct.
Okay, so your motion was to have Glenn Sexton speak with town council regarding this matter. Maybe we should clarify, regarding the Attorney General's,
Disapproval of Article 2, Sections 1 and 2.
sections 1 and 2, to see what we have to do to correct the situation. You want to leave it at that?
Yes, that is my amended motion.
Do you want me to read it again, folks?
Sure.
Or,
Yes, please.
okay, let me get rid of the rest of this. Okay. Motion made by Bob Sheehan and seconded by Jim to have Glenn Sexton speak with town council regarding the Attorney General's disapproval of Article 2, Sections 1 and 2, to see what we have to do to correct the situation.
Well, I'm actually gonna, if you can just email me that, as stated there, because I'm gonna email town council and have a response.
So instead of speak, you want to say contact?
Yes, going to respond to us in writing and that way it's.
Okay.
You know, what's interesting, Bob, as you bring up though too, it's not the Attorney General that's looking at it, it's their her office that's looking at it, so depending on who looked at it before, might have been fine with something, someone else looks at it,
Well, something may have changed.
changed, and, right,
And that's-
interpret something, and says,
Did it
well, I
happen
like
on
that.
Monday or a Friday?
Well, no, something may have changed that I think they referenced case law here, Bible Speaks versus Board of Appeals of Lennox. It doesn't give a date, but that could have been something fairly
Yeah.
recent
Right, so it changes the outcome, right?
that changes the outcome also.
Simple enough.
Moving on, do we approve bills?
Yes, we
Yes.
did. Would you like to see them, or?
No, it's fine, I think they're just the ones for.
Yes, the one that we weren't sure was Red
Yeah,
Rock.
It's all broken
So Jim
down.
signed that, and the other was the Pioneer Valley final bill from last year's, which you saw, you got an email.
They're all broken down, yeah.
Right.
That's good. So moving forward, that's the way they're gonna be doing it? Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I prepared the latter piece. So, you know, my time will be broken down into the various projects.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're looking for.
Right.
Do we approve minutes?
Yes.
We did?
We got a lot done.
Apparently, yeah. Is there any correspondence? I must have done that too.
Yes, and it's, did you put it back in
There
the
was,
folder?
there was nothing directly related to us
There was a,
FYI from DEP.
regarding McDuffie's wells.
and that they approved the work being done, and the no appeal on Granby DG series, and no appeal on Kendall Street.
What about the letter from the town administrator, Chris Martin?
We didn't get to that yet. That could be next.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
And you have a copy there of the, in your packet.
So this is, obviously it's from the town administrator, Chris Martin. It's from the Granby Energy Committee. So it's just recommendations for us to look at as far as, since we're looking at the solar bylaw. One thing I was given from the chair of the Energy Committee, Jay Joyce, was certain things that need to be in the bylaw so we meet the green community requirements. So
Okay.
that was,
Did we not discuss, and I believe Ken, you were included in this conversation, regarding what was needed to be a green community? And as of that conversation with Ken, we met all the criteria to meet the green community.
We've always met.
Yeah,
Yeah,
is that correct?
I would have assumed that you did, based on your existing zoning bylaw.
We, yeah, in 2018, they added that it could be an R&D designated area. Before that, we didn't have a designated area, and we were supposed to have a designated area to satisfy that criteria.
right, so they're referencing the Mass DOR green community requirements. That's,
We didn't have a zone that said solar.
If you go to page 17
Of what?
of our
The
our
schedule of
chart,
uses,
schedule of use and regulations,
okay?
research and development laboratory.
Well, that applies now, starting in 2018. They added that in, saying a research and development laboratory zone allowance there.
This is on mine from March 10th, 2014.
I know, but it wasn't something that would satisfy that criteria until 2018, according to the green community.
As far as I know, it's been in there since March 10th.
Well, that's fine, that's
2000.
fine, but in order to, option one, which is what they're talking about, in the green community requirements, was to have a designated area for, or designated zone for,
And we had that. It
Large.
was in the
Yeah.
industrial zone. It's been in there since the beginning, I'm trying to say.
Right.
This
So-
is, this,
but that's research and development.
yeah, for consistent in definition of renewable or alternative energy, research and development.
Right, now what about the one for large-scale ground mounted? Where did that go? I know it's in here. Right here. We got, industrial and industrial too.
Site plan approval, it's not special permit, so it's allowed by right. So we've met the criteria right along, that's why I don't understand why that keeps coming up with the Energy Committee.
I think there's a different interpretation for that. Am I hitting anything?
Nothing, you're not hitting anything.
Did we lose Glenn?
This
We
phone call.
lost him.
One question that I have is, we've already sent everything out regarding our solar amendments to our bylaws for consideration by the residents of the town of Granby.
To the select board, not the residents yet.
Well, but we're meeting that,
when we have our public hearing,
yeah.
right?
So why are we wasting time with this?
Well, from what I understand, the select board asked the energy committee to come up with suggestions. These can be incorporated in what is discussed at the public hearing, if we want to include any of those.
You know, I would almost differ on that, because I believe it was the member of the select board that asked the select board, since he was chairman of the
Energy.
Energy Committee, if they should get involved,
And the vote was yes.
you know.
So
Well,
that,
yes, and they should get involved from an energy perspective.
Right.
But everything I see here is all about zoning and setbacks, which is out of their purview and it's out of the select board's purview.
That is correct.
So if the select board was to assign to the energy committee, take a look at the moratorium and see what, if anything, would affect. In other words, recommendations on types of solar panels we should be approving.
yeah, see, I don't think that's what they were looking for.
Stuff that falls within their purview.
Mm-hmm.
This-
Well, this is all
But for the select
energy.
board to tell the energy committee, why don't you come up with some zoning ideas and
So the Energy Committee cannot directly go to the planning board, because the Energy Committee is appointed by the select board. Right, so they go to them first. So that coming to us are recommendations. Not saying that we have to.
Yeah,
do
but
it.
why did the select board give the energy committee the charge of looking at zoning?
They're just reviewing that, so you're on the Energy Committee, so correct me if I'm wrong, please. They were just reviewing it because they know the planning board were reviewing the solar bylaws at this point. I don't think they were, the select board did not give them a charge to go look at solar.
What they, 95% or 99% of what they're showing here is setbacks and screening.
Right.
What the hell does the energy committee have anything to do with that? If they came to us and said, look, we're recommending certain types of solar panels or different types of configurations on the installations to make them more efficient, but I don't understand.
This has to do with energy too.
Setbacks?
It all goes back to the greenhouse gas and everything else like that.
I don't
What does
see- I don't
setbacks
see what
have to do with the
setbacks are.
greenhouse gas? I don't understand that.
Because then you've got smaller footprint, right?
Not necessarily.
Did you read the whole thing?
Yeah?
Okay.
I thank the select board for sending this along, but that can go on file as far as I'm concerned.
So, what do you want to do about these? The whole thing?
Well, I think,
I mean, they're making a recommendation that we make a research and development by right. It's been in this thing since 2014. It was put in there specifically because we knew that was part of the requirements to become a green community.
Which is fine, it's in there, but they're also adding another as of right in case people want to put up solar canopies.
Those were allowed by the state.
Why are they allowed? Where are you saying they're allowed by the state?
I believe that the state regulation says that any garage canopy, it's by right.
I don't believe it's by right, because what's in here is wording specifically from Belchertown solar bylaws, and all the ones that are referenced here have all been approved by the Attorney General.
I'm almost positive that any such installation over parking lots, I believe that's allowed by the state rules.
I would have to look into that, but, I'm gonna say if the Attorney General allowed this wording from Belchertown, that it's not. Or you can,
Maybe Belchertown had it where they wouldn't allow it, and then this was put in.
canopies are considered ground-mounted solar, even though
I thought they were not.
they are.
Going on East Street, there's one there. It's not large scale, but it's allowed. That's a type of canopy, I think.
On East Street?
It's ground mounted.
When I think of canopy, I think of something like Smith and Wesson.
We're
Yeah.
talking about rooftops and that sort of thing. Or if you wanted to, like on a farm or something, if you wanted to farm the land underneath it, you can have, make them, set them up high enough so you can do that. That's been done.
So what kind of farm wouldn't need sunlight to? Or unless it's
depends on-
livestock?
It could be.
Again, these are things that are being sent to us as recommendations for us to look at. And to me, it's no different than when we have our public hearing and the public gives their input as well. This is the input from the Energy Committee to the Planning Board, because they know that we're looking at the solar bylaws. So whether we look at them and we agree with them or disagree with them, it's not saying that we have to put those into what we present.
I will be quite honest with you, as I read through this document from the Energy Committee, I look at this as more of a restriction and hindrance on large systems.
The only one I really want to focus on if it is, and I go back to what Jay Joyce has said to me, is that I want to make sure that we are meeting the green community requirements. So I want to make sure that when we move forward with the new bylaw, that there's no question about that, we meet that requirement.
And as Jim says, we already do with the R&D.
Then since the inception.
But I'm wondering, has there been changes to that? That's the only reason I'm asking, because it does say Mass DOER, green community requirements. So I don't know if there's been changes to the state that's saying now you need to meet this to be a green community.
So what are they? Is it telling us what they are?
It should be in the same thing that they sent forward. Yeah, so it's actually the first, or second page, says right on the top, meet green community requirement clarification. Page number 2. So again, whether that needs to be in there or not, according to Jay, it needed to be in there, but I just want to make sure moving forward, when we present the solar bylaws, that we do have.
But it is in
We're
there.
sure that it, that's all. I just want to make sure that
Yep.
we're sure that, that we meet the green community requirements, so we can, that's all. If the state has changed requirements, I want to make sure that we still meet them, that's all. Everything else in here to me is a recommendation.
So did you want to go through them,
FYI.
or what do you want to do?
Well, I look at some of this that's in here right now, and some of this we've already talked about. We've already presented it to the select board. Some of the minimum frontage, minimum setbacks.
They're different from what was,
Well, they're different because it's a different town, but it's not, I mean, we, as a board, we voted on what we thought was,
right, but the
Right,
numbers,
for our town.
numbers are different from what we sent to the board.
oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because we felt, I mean, as a board, I mean, and when the board voted on it, we felt that's what was appropriate for our town. Unless someone's saying something different now, we've already crossed that bridge, if you will. I see what other towns have done, but that's represents their town. I think that's their boards feel that that's what is best for their town. And when it's all said and done, it goes in front of the town anyways to vote on it. If the town feels that the bylaws are too much, they'll vote how so. If they think they're not enough, they'll vote that way.
So are you saying leave these separate to be presented by, say, the Energy Committee
The town meeting?
at the town meeting or at the at the first public hearing? How do you want to do that?
But again, these are just recommendations from
The Energy Committee.
the Energy Committee.
Mm-hmm.
So the bylaw falls under the planning board's
Right,
purview.
right. So these are suggestions. Are they
Suggestions.
going any farther than here? Or are they going to stop here and,
We can look at them, if anybody feels that they should go forward. Like I said, I'm just looking at residential zone setbacks. I know as a board, we've already discussed that, and we voted on it. And the numbers are different, but again, I think at that time, that's what we felt was appropriate for our town. I don't see looking at what other towns do now that we should say, well, gee, because X, Y, and Z says 150 feet, we should be 150 feet now.
that's not, the reason that these were recommended was so that you would have room to put revenue-producing places in front or near, or where the setback is.
I know, I understand it, but what I'm saying is that
Where would that be? What are you considering revenue-producing places?
If you look at the, we're talking either building a house or putting a business there in front because we're setting the solar back so far.
We don't govern the property owner's property. The property owner can do whatever he wants.
That you need to explain to me because that's not just an infinitesimal.
well, for example,
Well, within the bylaws.
so for example, I own a piece of property, and I know that the first 500 feet of my property is zone business, or zone, could be potentially beneficial to put a building or whatever there. But I know that a company wants to put solar on my property as well. Well, I'm going to say, well, gee, I'm not going to put solar on the first 500 feet because I don't have to if I don't want to. I could, but I don't want to because I know potentially that means I could lose revenue somewhere else. So I'm going
Let me
to
just,
put mine back
let me just
further.
interrupt you for a minute. Again, large-scale solar is not allowed in the GB. So these setbacks of 300 feet back so that it's not interfering with revenue.
This is residential zone. But you could put a house there.
The house is not a revenue. The
It's
house
got
is-
taxes
It's
then.
got overhead because you put kids
Okay.
through school system.
Right,
But
but
it's not allowed in the business district.
But, right, so I misspoke. So I was talking about residential, something like a house, revenue, it means that there's property taxes. But again, that comes back to the person who owns the property. That person wishes to do that with his property, or her property, that's great. They may be saying, no, I don't want to put a house there.
Which is fine.
So why should we restrict them? If they know it's revenue, that, gee, I'm in the first 500 feet, I want to make sure that I make that property available, so if I want to build a house there, I can.
So, okay, we
So-
do have some bylaws that restrict things that a property owner can do, okay? They can't just do whatever they want because the town people want to see the town looking a certain way. That's in the master plan, which the planning board is in charge of entirely, according to mass general laws, okay? That was not clarified in the last meeting.
Right, but I'm just going back to what you're saying as far as the setback, where the owner has that, why should we say to the owner that, it should be a minimum of 500 feet back? And we're talking about why should it be 500 feet back? Because there's a revenue potential for that frontage. Well, that's the landowner's choice whether or not he wants to use that to his benefit, her benefit as a residential
That's
or
true,
I agree.
yes.
to money.
I'm not saying, it doesn't say anywhere in here where it has to be. It has the potential, and if you keep filling everything up with solar, you're not gonna have any place for a business or another house because you're using it all up with
But
solar.
that's someone's choice where it's my property.
It's your choice to a certain extent until the whole town, it gets passed the way the whole town is supposed to be set up.
No, I understand what you're saying, Lynn, going back to what Bob was saying, and to the point where, so, say if he had said 500 feet back, okay, I'll go 500 feet back, but I'm not putting a house up front. So how did that benefit anything? Except that someone's worried how the solar looks. It didn't benefit financially, it didn't benefit the town at all, because the person's
but it
saying, I'm
could.
still not putting a house there.
No, but it could,
It could.
more so if,
But I go
more
back.
than if it's all solar panels.
But I go back to what you're saying, that landowner may say, I will put a house there because of revenue potential. And that taxes the town. That's how it benefits the town, but they don't have to. That's
No,
what I'm
they
saying.
don't
So,
have to.
right, so, I mean, he has that person, or that person has an option to do it one way or another, so I don't see how restricting it back 500 feet makes a difference.
Here's another rub. You put a house in front of the solar, and let's say you sell that property. Now, the solar has to be 500 feet from the street or 500 feet from their frontage. If you've already chewed up a good chunk of property with a house, yard, septic, well, garage. Is this a way to keep pushing everything back?
I don't know what the agenda is.
I
I don't
just-
even know why the energy committee's looking at zoning.
I
I'm a little
agree.
baffled by that.
I just look, I guess where I am right now is that this board has discussed setbacks and things like that already. I think we talked about it a lot. It came to a vote. The board voted on it as such.
What about the screening that it talks about in there?
But again, I said we can look at this, and these are recommendations from,
But are we looking at it now, or are we just saying, okay,
Well,
we've
we've-
looked
we've-
at it and we're not doing anything with it? I just
That's
trying
not
to
true.
figure out
We
where
are-
it's going from here.
We are doing something about the screening, because number one, we require it, number
Site
two,
plan.
Well,
we
yeah,
are
I'm not
going,
saying the planning board is not doing anything about screening. I want to know if they looked at the screening in the Energy Committee's report.
Well,
And
first of all, the Energy Committee's report came out a little late. We had already based on the schedule that was put before us, to meet deadlines to get this
But it
done
can
within the
still
window of
be
the
in-
moratorium.
it can still be included
It can
because,
still be included, well, if they want to include it, they can bring it to a hearing and discuss it then. As far as I'm concerned, I'm done with it.
okay, that's
They
your,
want, anybody
that's
wants to
your-
discuss it, they want to bring it to a hearing and bring it up for discussion, fine, that's the way the process is supposed to work. But for us to go back and take back what we've already submitted to the select board and for our hearing,
What if the select board had changes? What would you do then?
they can bring them at the hearing.
Fine. So these will be brought up
They're
at the
they're no
hearing.
different than any other citizen coming to a hearing, making suggestions. That's what we're going to have the hearing for, to take input.
Mhm. So no more discussion on this?
I don't have any, I didn't see anything in there that stuck out, 300-foot setbacks.
I would-
I think they're going to extremes now.
I would suggest to the board members that they review this, and if there's anything they wish to bring up to the board, that's something the board can look at as a board and just decide whether or not, just like we did before, whether we want to bring that forward or not. It's the same thing that's going to happen when we have our public hearings.
Well, I think Jim's already given his opinion that he doesn't want to bring anything.
Jim feels he read it and doesn't feel anything is warranted
Right,
him to bring
so
forward.
that's-
And
Jim's
if the
opinion.
public brings something to us at a public hearing, and it makes sense, then we should look at it and address it. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but
No.
just because the Energy Committee comes up with some new zoning bylaws after we've already submitted for our hearing, we can't pull that back and then extend our hearing because
No, we're
we'll
not.
do it at the hearing.
I don't think that's what they're asking. The select board is asking us to do.
no, the select board was approached by the chairman of the Energy Committee, who is a select board member. And the other two select board members agreed, but this is ridiculous. Some of it is ridiculous. Solar shouldn't be allowed on prime farmland as defined by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Why? Why? Why are we telling farmers that they can't put a solar array?
But you can't stop them with a subdivision because that's by right.
That's right.
We're not saying the farmers can't put up solar. According to the Mass General Law, that they have to put up, they can't use prime farmland. The state says that. They can't use prime farmland for a solar project.
But they can put a subdivision in by right,
What is,
which is irreversible.
does the state
Which is
define
fine.
what is prime?
It's all nonsense.
Yes, they do. It's not listed here, but yeah,
So
there is.
any of our large farms here in town would not be allowed to put up solar arrays on prime farmland.
It's,
That they're not using the solar for the farm.
no,
If
wait a
it's
second.
just selling it like all the others.
Until we know what the state defines prime farmland as, we can't state that. And
Yeah.
I'm just saying, that the state
I
can
wonder-
say it's 45 acres of farmland. It's, we don't know what it is, and so until we know what that is, we can't state that.
Okay,
And if the state is saying that you can't use prime farmland for solar, if the state, that's a law by the state, well, that would supersede our bylaw. So it doesn't mean anything to us, it supersedes our bylaw.
but it isn't spelled out in the bylaws.
It doesn't need to be. The state supersedes our bylaws.
You're leaving a lot for
We could put
being
that, but
settled in court by not fixing our bylaws better than they are
but
now.
how does it need to be settled in something like that?
Because Jim, you especially, want to say, if we want to put any restrictions on solar, we can do it with conditions, right? I don't think so,
With special permit.
with a special permit. Then you're gonna have to, if somebody comes along and says, hey, how come you gave it to him, you didn't give it to me? You've got to defend your decision.
Because you can't write a bylaw for every
You
specific
can't,
situation.
but this helps it a little more,
So going back to what you just said, Rob.
yeah?
So if that is a state law, and the state is saying that, then I have no problem putting that into our bylaw, because again, our bylaw is not gonna supersede what the state says, so
Right.
that's, and again, it all depends what the state to consider as prime farmland.
Right,
No one knows, I don't know what it is, they consider.
Is there such a law, Ken, that you're aware of?
No, I think what happens, many of these solar developers are going into the business of developing these solar arrays using the SMART program. And I'm not going to say I'm an expert at the SMART program, but I understand that the state gives incentives depending on the type of land that you are planning to site your solar array. So I know that they actually do not want you to develop on prime farmland, however it's defined, and actually penalize you for doing that when you're going through the SMART program, because most of the time it's financed or funded through this particular process. They want you to develop on brownfields. They want you to develop on, landfill. Yeah, yeah. So, and there's a criteria for what those specific land types. I'm not familiar with a definition of prime farmland, and the only thing that the Zoning Act regulates in regards to solar is that you can't prohibit it, that you can't not prohibit it, but create regulations that may prohibit it in town.
Would impede be a correct word or no?
it might.
Prohibit, and if you make so many regulations that it prohibits it,
Mhm.
that's, like 300-foot setbacks or 500-foot setbacks on like we talked about,
But
a
is-
10-acre parcel, virtually.
But as you
Which
said,
business?
regarding the business district, it's not allowed, a large scale is not allowed in the business district anyway, so.
Right.
Okay.
That's a moot point. So we can cross that page off. I, as a single member of the planning board, have no problem endorsing what we sent to the select board several weeks ago. I,
We all endorsed it,
that is correct.
as a board,
I-
as a single member, as a.
Right. I, as a single member of the board, have problems with just about this entire document from the Energy Commission. The Energy Commission
Committee.
committee, I'm sorry, is basically looking to tell property owners what they can and cannot do with their property.
And again, I'll reiterate what I said earlier. I don't know why the select board gave the energy committee the charge to look at zoning for solar.
They did not.
Then why did they present something? They took something upon themselves?
Yes.
They should have looked at what type of solar panels we should be endorsing, encouraging. You know, something from an energy perspective that may put out, maybe more efficient and take up less land use. That would be something that would have been interesting to look at, but not telling us what setbacks are. That's what the planning board's for.
That's right.
And the zoning board of appeals.
So, again, I don't think the Energy Committee was telling us what to do. I think they're telling us what other towns have that kind of
That's what we
surround
have
it.
Pioneer Valley here
I
for, and we have
understand
other
that.
research that. we've
And I
done.
think this is another town committee was presenting information to a town board. That's the way I look at it.
That's fine.
So whether we agree with it or disagree with it, that's fine. I just look at, that's what it was it was giving us information based on, they know we're looking at the bylaw. These are some of the things that they discovered that our surrounding towns are doing or have done, and their bylaws have already been approved by the Attorney General. I think this is information for us. I don't look at it as telling us what to do, because frankly, they can't tell us what to do.
But my point is, I would have expected something like, let's put chargers next to these, car chargers, and, let's place a spot for those where these solar fields are. What type of panels we should be using. Anything else that might be relative to the energy committee versus.
I don't think the energy can do that. I don't think the energy committee can say you have to use these panels.
They can't do that either, but they can make recommendations of what's out there for state of the art, what's the up and coming. I mean, I don't know what else does the energy committee do? They're placing these chargers in different locations. Maybe that would have been a great suggestion, to have a solar field somewhere with a designated charging station.
Are you
But I'm not
talking on
energy.
a property owner's land and then saying, okay, we want to put this here? Or are you talking about town land?
Whatever. I'm not on the
Because if it's
energy
on,
committee.
once the project is done, the electricity is sold to the grid. So the Granby's gonna have to pay
I'm just
to,
using it as an example of what I would have thought that we would have gotten information back from the energy committee. Not zoning issues, but energy suggestions. on
and
what-
like I said, the greenhouse gas emissions and those sort of things are included in here, which is energy committee
Can I
purview.
go back? These are recommendations from the,
Energy committee.
Energy Committee, thank you. And that's all they are. We didn't ask them for them. We didn't ask them to look at it. The select board didn't ask them to do it. They're a committee of the town that look at different things for the town, what they think is beneficial for the town. So it's just recommendations that are presented to us, whether we agree or disagree with them, that's fine. We don't have
What's
to
the
bring it
timeline?
forward.
What's our timeline going forward?
What's the what?
Timeline? Do we have time to meet with the energy committee?
Um,
Are they gonna be at the,
the public hearing is
Public
the
hearing?
2nd of September, so the Energy Committee doesn't meet until the 19th of September.
Again, I just go back to this board's already met,
Right.
talked about it, presented it to the select board on what we thought was what our town needed as far as requirements as a bylaw. So I don't, just because where do you stop?
Bring their suggestions to the hearing, that's what the hearing's for. This document should have been out before we sent anything to the select board. Before we,
I think there was a time restriction on the Energy Committee too, once they got the go-ahead from the assignment from the select board. It probably didn't jive with what,
No.
I'd have to go back.
so,
Regardless,
that being
we've-
said, we're beyond it right now, so.
We've addressed, to a minor degree, quite a bit of what the Energy Commission has put to us regarding setbacks and everything else, zoning concerns.
We're beating a dead horse here.
Yeah, I believe you're correct.
Is there anything else on the agenda?
So what's the verdict on this?
Again, I think each board member can look at it. If they feel there's something in here that they wish for the board to look at, we can do that.
When are we gonna do that then? Because I think all of that should be included, but that's my opinion.
Well, I think that's something we're gonna look at before we send our final draft to the town.
So you're saying wait and see what happens at the public hearing?
We have time, so whatever happens at the public hearing, and we can then discuss it in the future. It's something that the board wants to bring to the town, to them vote on it, that's fine.
I mean, the information for the hearing's already out there, so in order to pull that back and redo it,
Well, no,
But no,
this would
we-
be information that would be brought up at the hearing.
that's what I'm saying.
Right, no, I know.
We're already,
Right.
we're already,
Right.
horse-
That's where we're from. Our recommendations were already been submitted to the select board.
Right.
That is what's gonna be presented to, at the hearing,
Right.
the public hearing.
Right.
and then we're open for suggestions at that point.
Well, we have the permitting guide now, seeing as, so Ken, you're going to tweak it with the Attorney
So
General?
tweak it with, yeah, I probably, 'cause I know I handed them out, you don't need to pull them out, obviously. But, the most recent change that we were talking about today in regards to the approved zoning bylaw, we'll just remove and ensure that that doesn't exist. I don't think, just taking a quick glance at it, about what's changed in there, I don't think that it really spoke to that specific type of use, and how it is addressed in the process. That would be, yeah, I don't even think I see it in here. Yeah, it's not even addressed, that specific use, which is,
So if I remember correctly, I don't have my copy of the permitting guide here, that not everything in the scheduled use tables is listed there.
Correct.
Just kind of the ones that,
Kind of the ones that you could maybe find someone asking for an application to, or, you know, how it would get permitted.
but you did make changes according to what we,
I am
Did
under
it-
the assumption, I never made any changes, this was based on Bill Scanlon's work. So if that was based on the changes that you proposed in the town meeting, I'm going to make the assumption, that that's regulated here.
can you double check that?
I'll take a quick glance based on what you guys changed in the town meeting and, ensure that that's alluded to in the document.
And as well, we're gonna be making other changes in the permitting guide with the new potential bylaws for the solar.
Solar.
But, I mean, if this is ready to go live, it should go live. Because there's gonna be constant changes. We shouldn't just hold it
Right.
until.
Yeah.
Until,
Right, it can go live before the solar.
yeah, that's what I would recommend.
But I just want to make sure all the changes. have
Yeah,
been-
just quickly taking a look at solar, it was changed to special permit, special, site plan authority, or site plan approval, and then you struck zoning restrictions, see section 5.99, just taking a quick glance, that was changed. But I'll, confirm those, and maybe if it's worthwhile, I can just say this reflects the, most recent change to, based on your town meeting, that you could post it if you really wanted to, unless there was something that the board discovered, when looking at this, that,
Can we just do, like, at the next meeting, just do a final yay, nay, and,
yeah, so I'll
Get it to
I'll
the next
resend out
step.
the documents, or I'll send it to Lil, just
Yeah.
to resend out, and I'll quickly, and then provide to Lil, my assessment of the change, and whether or not I think it reflects that, but I'm assuming it does.
does that work for everybody?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it should go out as soon as we can get it out there
Right.
and start using it.
Shouldn't wait for anything, just because that could change
Well, it could change every 6 months.
6 months, right? You could add things to it, subtract them from.
And I think it's very general too.
It's a living document.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, our next meeting is September 9th. You're not gonna have the first of September is when you would usually have a select board meeting, correct?
Yes, the first Monday,
But that's a holiday.
the holiday, so we're actually meeting that Tuesday.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so you weren't bumping it a week, so we
No.
can still meet
Yes.
on the 9th. And the 23rd is
Labor
the,
Day,
I think that's this week.
this Monday coming up.
She said the 9th.
She was thinking that we weren't gonna meet on that Monday, that the select board would have pushed back their meeting to the following Monday, which is
Right.
the case, we're gonna meet on Tuesday.
right, so in September, we meet on the 9th, and the 23rd is the next one, which is also the public hearing.
So our public hearings are, what's the 2 dates? Or-
Public hearing is the 23rd. We didn't,
We just did one.
we need to figure out another date before the public hearing, so at the public hearing, we can say continue to, we should figure that out on the 9th. Other than that, and the final verdict on the permitting guide, nothing else?
Well, just make sure that's an agenda item, then to choose a date, so we don't forget and not change the date. So just make sure that's an agenda item. So make
You
sure
want
we
that
do
as an agenda item
Yeah.
to,
We gotta choose a second date, right? That we're gonna
I'll say
deal with.
public hearing, second date.
We continue to look.
I don't know why we need a second.
Well, that's what we had said in the beginning, we do too,
I
to
know.
catch more people. try
Well, I
and
know
catch more
Glenn
people.
had said that.
Yeah.
I don't think that was put to a vote.
Oh. Do you want to put it to a vote now?
Do you wanna wait and see how that meeting goes? And if that meeting doesn't, we don't get a lot of input, then, okay, we say we don't do it. know, but if you get a lot of people at that meeting or that hearing, public hearing, maybe it'd be worthwhile to do a second one. I don't wanna say no. Should we see how that goes? And then say, okay, we can continue to another meeting? I'd be fine with that. Because if no one shows up, say, well, what was the, you know, I don't see
Right.
no, personally, I see no sense of, if you have no one that shows up to that hearing, and then, but if you have a room full of, 20, 30 people, I don't wanna have a 5-hour meeting.
Right,
I wanna say, okay, we're gonna continue this to the next day.
or whatever, but we'll decide on that at
Then you're
at our September
continuing
9th.
hearing, you're not having a separate second hearing.
No, continuing. Right?
You're
Right.
continuing.
So I'm fine with that, then we can do it that way.
So at our next meeting, September 9th, we'll decide a potential
And
continuation of the public
this
hearing
here
date.
is obviously videoed, and he's seen by people. People feel there's a need that they can't make the September 23rd meeting, or public hearing. There's a cry, if you will, from the community, asking for a second one. I think as a board, we grant that, but if nothing's coming forward, then I don't see a problem with that.
Where is the public hearing being held? Do we know yet?
I have to confirm at the Council on Aging.
Okay, thank you.
Well, look, let's back this up again. You can't have two hearings. One hearing, and it can be continued.
Right.
Okay?
Isn't
can't
that
have
what
two
Glenn,
hearings?
isn't that what Glenn said?
Because there's one hearing, you have to close it,
That's what Glenn just
and
said.
then you can't reopen another hearing.
But
For the same-
originally,
you know what
Glenn
I'm
was saying we're gonna have two.
Right,
Oh.
but people could show up at the second meeting. I
They
don't
could
know.
certainly
I get it.
show up at the second one if we continue it.
But I'm just saying, if we get input from people from the towns, gee, I'd love to, I can't make that meeting. But there's always someone that's going to it, or, I guess if there's, like I said, I'm fine if there's enough input from the town at that first meeting that we believe we need to continue to get more input from the town, then we do it. If we don't need a second meeting, we'll do it continuing. So we won't do a second meeting, we'll just say if we get enough input at that point, we always have the ability to continue that meeting to another meeting, so I'm fine with that. We'll base it on any input that we get at that time. I'm fine with that.
How much time after that September 20?
Third?
How much time after that would we have to make changes or recommendations or?
That's 3 weeks
3 weeks.
from that date to the date of the special town meeting, which
Okay.
would be October 15th, which
So
I already cleared with
so-
Kathy Kelly Reagan.
So it's got to be posted.
What? It has to be.
If any changes have been made.
The articles have to be posted prior to the town meeting.
Yes. And that's why we have the 3 weeks between the public hearing and the special town meeting to make any changes, to come up with a final document,
Okay.
and that gets to Kathy. Kelly Reagan. Kathy Leonard, Kathy.
What date is the town meeting?
October 15. Now, we normally would have a planning board meeting on the 14th.
I don't know that I'm gonna be there. Son's wedding.
That week, weekend before or about?
I'm gonna be in North Carolina, I think. I gotta check my itinerary. So it's not as though, yeah, he's right down the street.
Yeah, normally we would meet on the 14th, and we got some dates coming up that we need to look at because.
I think we can
we're
look at
running
that.
out.
At our meeting before the 14th and decide whether or not we need to meet the 14th or not. If there's anything we need to finalize, but everything's to be finalized before that for the
That
town
would
meeting.
be the date of the public hearing.
We'll see how the public hearing goes.
Yeah.
And tailor the, sure, yeah.
So the only thing we have on the agenda for September 9th is any administrative stuff.
What time, excuse me, before we go forward, what time we're looking to do the public hearing? Is there a time to start that? Was that discussed?
6 o'clock, I want to say, Ken, is that on the materials that you prepared? me figure
I
this
just
out.
couldn't remember.
5:30
Okay.
at 10B West State Street,
That,
Senior Center.
no, you're talking about, which one are you talking about? The special town meeting or the public
The
hearing?
public hearing,
Oh, okay, yeah, 5:30,
5:30. These are town meetings at 7 o'clock.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?